When you buy a $1,000 machine, you expect it to function as long as you provide power. If the manufacturer can remotely flip a switch to freeze that machine mid-job, the concept of ownership becomes an illusion. Bambu Lab rose to the top of the 3D printing industry in record time. They secured this position by delivering high-speed, reliable hardware that felt like a consumer appliance rather than a complex hobbyist tool. This rapid success was built on top of software foundations. Bambu Lab utilized the open-source RepRap project and Prusa Research's codebase, both of which are governed by the AGPL 3.0 license, a legal framework requiring derivative works to remain open and modifiable by the public. By utilizing this existing code, Bambu Lab saved years of research and development costs. Their market entry was effectively subsidized by the collaborative labor of the open-source community they were now entering. Once the company established a dominant user base, they began tightening the ecosystem. In early 2025, a firmware update deliberately disabled the direct local network path between users' computers and their printers. This update forced all private print data to detour through Bambu Lab's proprietary cloud servers. Users could no longer send files directly across their own home networks. This new middleware stripped users of their software autonomy. It prevented third-party programs from adjusting critical hardware settings, like print speeds or temperatures, forcing users to input that data manually on the printer's physical interface. Severing local access wasn't a technical requirement for the hardware to function. Instead, it acted as a gatekeeping mechanism designed to tether independent machines to a corporate-controlled cloud-dependent ecosystem. In April 2026, Polish developer Paweł Jarczak released OrcaSlicer-Bambu Lab. This community-driven fork had a single objective: restoring the direct local networking features that the manufacturer had removed. Instead of complex hacking, he routed the software through a pathway the company missed in their Linux architecture. To bypass server-side blocks, the software updated its user agent string, standard self-declared metadata used to request data, not a robust security identifier. The code Jarczak used for this workaround wasn't stolen. It was lifted directly from Bambu Lab's own publicly available source code, material specifically licensed for public modification. Modifying open source code to regain control of a machine you purchased is the exact technical freedom the original software licenses were created to protect. Bambu Lab responded with a formal cease and desist. The company accused the solo developer of digital impersonation and claimed his software posed a risk of crashing their servers with unauthorized traffic. Software professionals challenged these security claims. In modern networking, relying on a modifiable text string like a user agent is widely considered a failure of system design, not a real barrier against malicious actors. Critics pointed out that the mandatory cloud connection itself creates the most significant risk. If the manufacturer's central servers are ever breached, an attacker gains remote access to the physical components of thousands of machines in users' homes. By requiring all print data to pass through a centralized cloud server, the system introduces a remote vulnerability that simply doesn't exist on air-gapped or local networks. This conflict is an example of progressive enclosure. It's a corporate strategy where you buy hardware, but the manufacturer uses software updates and terms of service to slowly remove features and force you into a subscription or service model. To maintain this control, Bambu Lab isolated their networking code into a proprietary plugin. They argue that while the core software is open source, this plugin is governed by private terms of service, bypassing the spirit of the AGPL license. If this strategy succeeds, it provides a blueprint for hardware companies to absorb free community labor and then use copyright law to crush anyone who tries to improve or modify the product. Using terms of service to override open source licenses threatens the foundational agreement that allows the global software community to build tools together. The legal threat against Jarczak backfired, as hardware journalists and right-to-repair advocates mirrored his code across the internet, ensuring the software couldn't be easily erased. Several major technology creators pooled $20,000 for a legal defense fund, publicly challenging the manufacturer to take the matter to court and establish a definitive legal precedent for user rights. This sparked a visible consumer boycott. Thousands of users canceled orders, moving toward competitors who offer hardware specifically designed to operate entirely offline and independent of corporate servers. This push for local control is becoming a necessity as governments look for ways to regulate what individuals print. Cloud-tethered hardware gives corporations the ability to implement silent surveillance and geometry-based censorship on private property. If a manufacturer retains the unilateral power to dictate how you use a machine in your own home, you don't truly own it. Real ownership requires absolute local control, independent of any corporate service.